Hello, and in this part 2 speaking video, I am going to describe a person you would like to meet. You should say who it is, what he or she has done, why you want to meet him or her, and explain how you would feel if you met him or her. Now, you might not know the person I'm going to talk about, and it was very difficult for me to pick a person who everybody would know and want to talk about. But I want you to adapt the topic to a person you would like to meet and try to use some of the same vocabulary. And if you can't think of a person and you're familiar with the person I'm going to talk about, then obviously you can talk about this person. This is a tricky question for me to answer because there are literally hundreds of people that I'd love to meet, but if I had to choose just one, then it would be Kim Namjoon. He is relatively unknown in my country. However, he is an internationally known singer-songwriter and music producer who comes from Korea. BTS, the group that he is in, was named in the 20 most influential people to watch in 2019, alongside Michelle Obama, Bill Gates and Elon Musk, among others, so he is a person of note. Many people might mock me and say, "Oh, he's only a pop star," but he is more than just a pop star. Last year, BTS were invited to speak at the United Nations, and Namjoon gave a 7-minute speech on the importance of loving yourself. Mental health problems are at a record high in my country, so for an idol to speak about self-love, this will hopefully lead to young people taking more care of their mental health. At the moment, there are very few intelligent and worthy celebrities to admire, as many of them are YouTubers or reality stars, such as Kim Kardashian, so it is refreshing to find a superstar who is not shallow like these others. How would I feel if I met him? Well, I can say for sure that I would be overwhelmed. I once met a D-list celebrity when I was visiting London, and I cried when he stopped to let me take his photo, so you can imagine that if I met Kim Namjoon, someone who I respect, admire and hero worship, I would probably be in floods of tears. I hope, though, that I would be able to have a conversation with him. Despite being Korean, he is fluent in English, and I would love to have a chat with him about all kinds of things. Unlike many famous people who seem self-obsessed and narcissistic, I imagine that Kim Namjoon would not be like this, as he doesn't come across like this in interviews. He seems very humble and down to earth. Sadly, I cannot imagine ever getting to meet him. Not in a million years. But here's hoping. So a good way to start your answer. It's a tricky question for me to answer. Tricky means difficult, because there are literally hundreds. We use literally now in the UK to mean really, really, really lots of hundreds of people that I'd love to meet. Literally hundreds. There aren't literally hundreds, but it's really to emphasize when something is very big. And in this answer, because it's an imaginary situation who you would like to meet, you have to use the second conditional. If I had to choose one, if I had to choose just one, it would be. So even if you're not going to talk about Kim Namjoon, whoever you're going to talk about, you use this structure. If I had to choose just one, it would be. Relatively unknown, meaning not famous compared to other people. Internationally known, so whoever you're going to talk about, are they internationally known? If they're not, you can say he's not internationally known. And he's a singer-songwriter, so that's a person who sings songs and also writes songs as well. He is influential, so that means he is a person who influences others. Alongside, so this means that these were the other people on the list. A person of note. This means a noteworthy person, and that's usually meaning a famous person, a person of note. Many people might mock me. If somebody mocks you, they make fun of you. They tease you. Mental health problems, if you're talking about another person, you might not find this relevant to this topic, but it's very good for IELTS writing. Mental health problems are at a record high. If, for example, you're writing a task 2 about work-life balance, you could say something like mental health problems are at a record high, and this means they're at their highest level. An idol is a person we admire, a very, very, very famous person. A worthy celebrity means a celebrity who it is worth admiring because they've done something significant, like a sports person who has achieved something, in comparison to a YouTuber or a reality star, so somebody who's appeared on a reality TV program such as The Voice or America's Got Talent. These are just reality stars. So it is refreshing. When something is refreshing, it's like new and different. A superstar, another way of saying an idol. Shallow. We describe people as being shallow or deep. Somebody who is not shallow is deep, and somebody who is shallow is somebody who is only interested in their physical appearance, and they're not interested in deeper issues. When you're moving on to another bullet point, you can ask a rhetorical question. So it's a question you're asking yourself. How would I feel if I met him? Well, I can say for sure, that's like certainly, I would be overwhelmed. Overwhelmed has a few meanings. It can mean if you're overwhelmed with work, you've got a lot to do and you're struggling to cope with it. If you're overwhelmed, it can mean you're very emotional. And this is the case here. So I got very emotional. I started to cry. We talk about celebrities in categories. A-list are people like Kim Namjoon, David Beckham, Brad Pitt. These are your top celebrities. You can then talk about B-list, who are a bit lower. I've gone to D because I think this person is not very famous at all. You can so you can choose A, B, C, D, whatever, but this is how we categorize our celebrities. Reminder, using the second conditional is very important for this topic. Now, with somebody you want to meet, you probably respect, admire, hero worship. This is very strong and powerful, and I wouldn't say that I actually do this, but I'm using it because it's very complex vocabulary, and it's when somebody's your hero and you worship them like a god. I would probably be in floods of tears, and this means I would cry. If you are in floods of tears, you are crying a lot. Remember, with despite, we can follow it straight away with the verb, but it has to be an ing verb, despite being. And because this is talking about somebody you would like to meet, and you're probably going to talk about a famous person, you can talk about famous people being self-obsessed and narcissistic. Both of these have a very similar meaning. If you're self-obsessed, you're obsessed with yourself. You only think about yourself. If you're narcissistic, you love yourself. You worship yourself. And a lot of celebrities are like that. However, I'm saying Kim Namjoon is not like this. He doesn't come across like this. To come across means to appear. So he doesn't appear, he doesn't seem like this in interviews. He seems very humble. Somebody who's very humble is very modest. They're not saying, oh, I'm fabulous, I'm brilliant, I'm the greatest person in the world. They're kind of they're not outspoken about their achievements. He's very humble, down to earth. It means they still are like a normal person. So they are just very normal. I've missed a dash out of there, a hyphen, sorry, I will add that in. So just finishing it off saying I cannot imagine ever getting to meet him, not in a million years, but here's hoping. I've used this in another part 2 answer when you're saying, I hope this will happen. Here's hoping. So, like I said, you can take a lot of the vocabulary, remember to use the second conditional, if I met, I would, blah, 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 and think about celebrities being self-obsessed, narcissistic, think about A-list, B-list, C-list, D-list celebrities, think about hero worshipping them. How would you feel if you met them? Would you be overwhelmed? in floods of tears? How does the person come across in interviews? Are they humble and down to earth? So hopefully you have enough vocabulary now to talk about this topic. Thank you for watching.